Oh, what is up, y'all? Thank you for waiting for me. I am late. Dr. Pinesett here. And this week we do not have a guest on the Study Doc show, so I thought it would be fun to do some Q&A to keep us locked in, keep us engaged, keep us moving where? Forward, which is what we're going to do. So I'm going to hit the intro, and then I want you guys to start populating this comment box right now with your questions so we can get at it and help you guys move forward today and get better. So thank you guys for joining me. Let's hit the intro. What I teach you guys is transformation. If you didn't dominate, changes need to be made. So I give you guys entire systems that make you new. But stop making excuses, stop whining, stop, right? Get at it. No excuses, just dominate. All right, y'all. Like I said, we are live action, and I'm answering your questions tonight. Everything about students, everything about premeds. Let's get better. All right, so first question up. So you guys can ask your questions in the comment box. I'll pull them on screen. I'll answer them, and we will get at it. So, because seeing coming through with a lot of questions here. Let's see. And yes, you guys are playing the waiting game, Spencer, but I appreciate you guys waiting. Rambo in the building. Robert, what up? Anna, Gabby, hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. So first question is from Kasim. How important is visualization to success? Guys, visualization is so important. I actually have a talk. Last time I gave it was at UCLA, which is a crazy long while ago because of COVID. But I actually have an entire 4-hour talk that I give that's all about visualization and effectively visualizing your future, and then how to create that vision through action and all those kind of things. And so I walk the students through all these exercises over 4 hours. By the end of the 4 hours, they have clarity of vision, they have definiteness of purpose, and they have, right, action steps they can take to get that vision effective. But I think in life, as in anything, right, just basic navigation in your car, if you don't know the address, if you don't know the name of the location you're trying to go to, then that navigation can't take you where you want to go, and it's all for naught, right? And so it's the same way with you guys' goals and with your career aspirations and with your desires. If you aren't clear on it, it's going to fail you in so many ways. And let's break it down. Y'all ready? First way it's going to fail you is without a destination, there can be no route. And because of that, guys, you can't make accurate decisions towards getting closer to your goals. You can't do it because you don't have a clear mark on, okay, this is where I'm trying to go. So when this decision is presented to me and I have two choices, you can't weigh out which of those choices is going to get you there because you don't have an idea of where you're trying to go. Should I make a left? Should I make a right? I don't know because I don't know where we're going, right? It's like that Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory. My wife Shannon and I, we've gotten really into escape rooms lately. And I had never done one. And I did one on a fluke because we were going to go to Not Scary Farm, and Not Scary Farm was way too crowded and crazy. So we left Not Scary Farm, went to an escape room, and now we love escape rooms, love the challenge of it. And then the can we figure it out? Can we get it done? And so we've been doing those. One of the ones we did was a Willy Wonka one, and they simulated that little Willy Wonka boat, and it was like the danger must be growing. There's no way of knowing where we're going, and for a lot of you guys, that's how you live. You live in the Willy Wonka chocolate factory, where you have no idea what's around the corner. You have no idea where we're going. There's no earthly way of knowing. Therefore, the danger is always growing for you. And so if we don't understand where we are, we can't make wise decisions. And for a lot of you guys, how many of you guys struggle with what should I do next? How many of you guys struggle with staying on task, staying on your schedule? How many of you guys struggle prioritizing your life? Right? How many of you guys? I'll wait. Comment in the box. We're here. We're live action. Dr. Pinesett here with you guys, answering your questions. This is an Ask Me Anything section. But how many of you guys truly every single day you're like, you're always bewildered, always puzzled about the decisions you should make. And then at the end of the day or the end of the week, you're always like, man, why did I make that decision? Why in the world would I choose that? I'm further today from my goal than I was a week ago. And for me, right? Yes, I'm calling you out, Spencer, specifically. Delisa says, yes, I do, right? We have to understand that. And this is why I think it's so amazing. This is one of the cool things about success now, y'all, in 2021, is that you have the whole world at your fingertips, which is a pro and a con, right? Because you have all these options. And so if you choose the wrong options, spend your time doing different things you shouldn't be doing, then it's bad for you. But what's positive about that is that you're able to create your future. But the issue that so many students run into and they fail to recognize is that they're their biggest saboteur because they are deciding to take the wrong action. They are deciding to be inactive, to procrastinate, to put off, right? To abstain from the activities that would build the resume to be successful and so forth. And so for you guys as students, if you aren't really clear on what that vision is, you can't make the right decisions. Additionally, even if you somehow you kind of have a faint idea what you want to do. Oh, I want to become a doctor. Oh, I want to get straight A's and graduate college and with honors and all kinds of stuff. You have this faint vision of what you want. The problem with these faint visions and these blurry visions is that these future goals are in fact in the future. And so because they are in the future, right, and we have to build to them, they are monumental achievements, they are delayed gratification. And so if we aren't clear on what that delayed gratification is, there's no possible way it can outweigh that immediate gratification, which is normally the wrong thing. Well, I want to be in better shape, but that candy bar is right there. And oh man, that sugar, when it hits your lips, is incredible. And so we think about the candy bar and we don't think about, man, that's getting me further away from my healthcare goal. As students, man, this party sounds amazing. Oh man, campus is so far. I don't want to make that drive. I don't want to drive to campus today. I want to stay in bed. Not recognizing that what we really want is the A. And so if we're not clear on that vision, what we are unable to do is utilize the clarity of that vision and the substantial nature of that vision to overcompensate, to overcome that immediate gratification. And so even when we can see what the right decision is, we're going to make the wrong decision because the motivation is not there. The drive is not there because we don't why the freak would I not eat that candy bar that's so delicious? We can't see what it would mean, the confidence we would have, how much better we would feel about ourselves, how it's going to elongate our lives to be healthy and fit. And for you guys as students, right, you don't see what a difference today's gosh darn studying makes in your life. And this is one of the great paradoxes of life, is that when we're young, we got energy, we're spry, we have all this hope and ambitions and all those kind of things, but we're ignorant of the consequences and of the repercussions and of the positive outcomes we can create with our actions. We are oblivious to the connection between the action today and what it yields 10 years, 15 years from now. We can't see it. And then as you get older, you have all this wisdom and you understand the outcomes. You understand, oh snap, that action that one day yielded this. That action that 5 days, it yielded this. But now you're old and life has passed you by and now you're not building for anything. And so what I try to get across to you guys as students is this is your time. Learn, right? People who are successful, people who are highly intelligent, people who achieve great things, they're able to achieve great things and achieve great things faster than others because they are wise enough, savvy enough to learn, to listen to other people and learn from other people's mistakes, learn from other people's successes. But oftentimes with a lot of you guys as students, you wait. I was actually just filming a video earlier and I was talking about the number one rule for holes for holes is when you find you're in one, stop digging. Right? The number one rule for holes is to stop digging when you're in one. I think the author is Molly Ivan. And I thought that quote was so amazing because for a lot of you guys as students, you get into a hole, you get into a rut, you get into a bad place, and you don't even look around to recognize you're digging your own hole, your own grave. But then even when you do, you're like, well, just keep going. What's the worst that can happen? It's like, stop digging, crawl out of the hole. And so we can't tie today's action to that long term. And so for me now being older, what's amazing, right? I've achieved my academic goals. I've achieved my physician career goals, right? As an anesthesiologist, right? As an independent practitioner, someone who's recognized in my field of anesthesia by my colleagues, by my coworkers, as someone who's highly proficient, who's awesome to have around. I can see now, guys, I can go back and I can pinpoint clear-cut moments in my career that made this life. I can literally go back. I can visualize I can see myself in my MCAT study, and I can see myself saying, man, I got a lot of work to do, right? To get where I need to get in this MCAT because I want to get into medical school, but I also have to work to support myself. What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? You know what? I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to move in with my girlfriend in this roach infested apartment that's terrible and run down and raggedy, basically like awful. But I'm going to make that sacrifice so I can get into medical school. And then I got a stellar MCAT score, right? And that put me in league to get into Ivy League schools, into Stanford. And I went to Stanford, and now I'm that Stanford trained physician anesthesiologist. And I can look back and say, man, if I would have made the decision to say, no, I'm not willing to live in squalor for a couple months. I like having my nice apartment, right? I like being able to go out to nice dinners and do nice things. I'm just going to keep working and making that cash. It would have changed my whole life trajectory. But it seemed like a simple decision at the time. Should I quit my job or should I stay in this job and make that cash? Changes your life. I'll give you another example. You guys want another example? You guys are here with me right now. We are live action. Dr. Pinesett here. If you are enjoying this, like this video right now. This is your first time joining me. Make sure you subscribe, turn on live notifications, because you guys know I like to randomly go live and get you guys going. I chose to go study abroad in England after my first year of college. And it's one of the greatest decisions I ever made for my academics, because going over to Europe in a whole nother country, whole nother set of cultures, all by myself, none of my friends, none of my family there, it was an amazing opportunity to reset and put things in perspective and to bask in the solitude of being far away in another country. And so that summer, and you guys know my story, right? My college counselor who told me that I would never get into medical school, that I was incapable, that I wasn't a great student, that I was on track to flunk out of college. Well, that following summer, right after being told this, I went abroad. And it was one of the best decisions I ever made, because it was an opportunity to reset myself, to get alone with my thoughts, to get clear on what really mattered to me, to get clear on my strategies, to spend long hours devoted to learning how to study, to applying my concepts in my advanced, fast-paced organic chemistry course. I was able to do all those things that summer. And again, the work I put in that summer set me up to get the A's the rest of my college career, to get the stellar GPA I needed to get into Stanford Medical School, to develop the studying expertise, the foundation of it, that allowed me to start my tutoring company, that allowed me, to support myself in college, that allowed me to set the foundation for everything you guys learned from me on this channel. It all goes back to stuff I learned that very summer of dedicating, putting that work in to better myself. And so for you guys, recognize that that was a decision. At first I was scared to go abroad. Be honest with y'all, right? Like, I was like, I ain't never been over there. Like, it'd be a lot. Like, I'm by myself. It's an accelerated OChem course. My counselors told me I'm dumb. Like, how can I go over there and do this? I was scared to go. And I was like, and I want to have a pity party for myself. I don't want to go over there. I just want to sit and stew in my sadness all summer. But I made the decision for my future to go do it, and it changed the course of my path. And so for all of you guys, recognize that these little decisions, and I'll give you guys another actual student example. Can I give you guys one more student example? You guys are here with me right now. We've got a bunch of y'all on here. I want to see some likes on this video right now. Let me know I'm not talking to myself right now. Brant, I'm supposed to be doing a mock interview with right now, and he was nice enough to postpone so that we could get on here live action. And I see you guys' questions. I'm going to get your questions in the box, but I think it's important, right, to give you guys a good, thorough answer to this question about visualization, because it shapes the choices you make. And I was just talking to one of my students who is, I'm really excited. We're going to have him on the show to talk to you guys. And I'm going to give you two stories about this guy that are awesome, right? And it's a pattern of these success habits. But this is a student who I met 5 years ago now, I think. I want to say 5 or 4 years ago. Probably 5 years ago, actually, because now he's a third-year med student. So 5 years ago, I met him. And at this time, this student was actually getting his PhD and had hopes of getting into medical school, but had a low undergrad GPA. And so he actually reached out to me. He's like, hey, Dr. Pinesett, you don't know me. I just signed up for one of your courses. I'm going to be in San Diego for a conference presenting my research, and I'd love it if we could connect. And I was like, sure. And so I'm like, tell me where you're going to be, what your schedule is. Like, well, actually, I'm presenting at this time. If you want to come, cool. So then I go to the conference. I had to sneak in because I didn't want to pay for the ticket. I'm not paying for a full conference ticket. I'm just coming to see my boy, right, my student. So I snuck into the conference, right? I'm sneaky like that. And I got into the conference. I went and saw his presentation. And after his presentation, we went to downtown San Diego and we had drinks at this, like, it reminded me of Tao in Las Vegas, but it was like an Asian fusion restaurant, whatever. We had drinks. I'll never forget it. We had drinks. And we were talking. I was like, yeah, so like, what made you reach out to me? He's like, you know what, honestly, I'm older as a student. I'm a PhD student. And I feel like I should know everything, but I don't. And so I got in your course so I can learn more, to put myself in position. And I knew I was going to be here. So I thought I'd just reach out. Like, what does it hurt to reach out and get support? And so we sat and we talked for like 3 hours. And we talked about, okay, here's what you got to do to medical school. Lay it out. Boom. And then he did all those things. He got into medical school. And now he's in medical school. And now in his medical school, he's now the first I've ever heard of this ever happening. He's actually a faculty member with his own research funding, right? Putting in work while he's a medical student. And what's interesting, right? So he came and met with me on a whim, reached out to me to have this opportunity to get into medical school. But then once he was in medical school, how did he get his own lab? He's going to come on. He's going to tell you guys on the Study Doc show in a couple weeks. But he actually snuck in, a lot of sneakiness in my group. He actually snuck into a faculty-only meeting at his university. And he'll tell you guys a story behind this. He sort of stumbled in there, and they kept talking amongst themselves about how they were lacking a certain area of research. And so he chimed in, shoot, I can do it. They're like, oh, you can? Who are you? And the next thing you know, bam, he's on faculty, has his research opportunities, is building his career, and now has programs for residency. Who wouldn't want him? But he made the decision to be proactive and to go create his career. He didn't give up after people had told him he would never get into medical school, which is crazy, right? You think, oh, he's a PhD student. People were telling him, no, you can't get into medical school. Yeah, you get your PhD, but your undergraduate GPA is too low. You're missing these things. But we got it in line, got him together. He got into medical school. And then once he was in medical school, the ballerism, as Kasim just said, it doesn't stop, right? And as Cindy just said, he gets to live the dream, but it's because he's making the right decisions, and it's because it's clear on what his vision is. When you talk to him, he's very precise. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to be a doctor. Yes, but I want to be this kind of doctor. He wants to be a urologist. I want to make this kind of impact. I'm going to do this. I want to spend my time. He was very clear on that vision, so it motivates him to make the right decisions. So in short, visualization really, really matters. And I could go on, like I said, for forever about visualization and how to get it done. But for a lot of you guys, it can't just be, I want to be a doctor. I want the A. What does it really mean to you? How does it change your life? How does it change your future family's life? What does it mean to you? Get clear on it, on your vision. So Kasim, did I sufficiently answer your question? Sufficiently answer your question, Kasim? All right. All right. Stuart says this. Stuart says, if you guys liked that answer and you want me to stay on here and talk to you guys, to hand out my family, I want to see some likes on this video right now. Like this video. Let YouTube know we here. We at it. Let me know we here. We getting at it. Stuart says, Brent, your question is next. Stuart says, I'm still struggling a bit with my workload. Some of my professors are just not good at planning their courses. Any advice? Well, my advice, Stuart, is to get independent. I stress independence. You guys watched my Instagram today. I was posting about parental pressure and how to overcome that, and how your parents threaten to disown you, your parents threaten to not support you. Well, the way you overcome that is to become emotionally and financially independent. And academically, you're always going to be at the will and at the whim of teachers and tutors until you become an independent student. That's why, right, in my 5 pillars of studying less to get better grades, right, on my website, thestudydoc.com, you guys can go check that course out. I teach my students about, right, that vision, right, to a vision, bring it back, that vision of being an independent and confident and an efficient student. The vision is to get independent. How do you do that? You stack these 5 pillars. But for you, Stuart, I never worry about who the professor is, what they're doing, or how they're planning the course, because I have my ability to plan my own course. So for my students, right, I teach you guys course conceptualization, where you can break a course into its testable elements, understand what you're supposed to read. Then you know how to read, right? Because you guys radical reading routine. You guys know how to take notes because you know where note taking, right? You guys know how to do all these things, right? And to build yourself and pace yourself. I teach my students how to schedule to pace themselves. So Stuart, what I would advise you is, this is a big answer to a big question, is that if you're struggling with the workload and the pacing of courses, it's because you're being paced by someone who's not your own speed. It's like if you're in a race, you don't once run someone else's race, you run the race that you have trained for. And so Stuart, what I would say is you have to overcome their lack of planning by making your own plan that's better. And to do that, you have to have an eye for becoming an independent student, and then you have to have the tactics for it. And the best tool out there, period, is the 5 pillars of studying. Let's get better grades. This is my course. So that would be my advice to you, Stuart, is you've got to get independent of the teacher, independent of lectures, to be able to make your own workflow, your own plan for the course. Brant says, here's one I'm having trouble with in the interview. What's the biggest problem in healthcare today? So Brant is gearing up for his medical school interview next week. We're going to be meeting for a mock interview this week. And this question, right, when it comes to interviewing, it's very important. There's 2 keys. You guys ready? You want to be a successful interviewer for medical school, for any interview ever? You have to first understand 2 things. 1, who am I? Who am I in the scope of this interview? And to understand that, we first have to understand, what am I interviewing for? What are they looking for? And then we can ask ourselves, well, if I'm this person, how can I make myself fit into that box? And this is important because there are perspectives, there are shades of us all. We are all complex individuals. But a lot of you guys aren't clear on who you are and the different complexities of your character. And so when you are in an interview, you can't present, right, the perspective of the character they want to see. So if we're clear on what they want and then how we can offer them what they want, interviewing becomes a lot easier. So then when we're answering questions, what we're really trying to do is to relay to them and to give them what they want, but by being true to ourselves. So in terms of what's the biggest problem in healthcare today, the answer can be anything. But the answer is made true, is made valuable, is made impactful by the way you relay it and how true it is to yourself. So Brent, if you were to ask me what the biggest problem in healthcare is today, the biggest problem in healthcare today is that we have a disjointed medical system where you have so many people who are uninsured. The uninsured in America put financial strain, and there's a million reasons why it's a problem. But the biggest problem with uninsured people is that they put an undue burden on the healthcare system that makes healthcare a lose money proposition from day one, which forces insurance companies, forces hospital providers, right, forces hospital administrators to look at healthcare in terms of dollar signs because they're always in danger of going to the red. And if everyone had insurance, it would create better reimbursement, which would take the onus, the burden off thinking financially and allow us to think about the healthcare we're actually providing. So that would be my answer, would be the uninsured. But you could talk about the pandemic, right? We're in a pandemic, right? You could talk about how people listen to TikToks for their healthcare advice. People do their own research. I was watching something the other day. There's a guy, I don't know if you guys have seen this. There's a guy on Trevor Noah's show. He's like a white comedian guy. He goes out to like Trump rallies in different places and he asks questions about stuff. And it was hilarious because like he'll ask someone something and he'll be like, well, the data says this and this says this. And they'll be like, well, I've been doing my own research. I've done a little bit of research. It's like your little bit of research could never get to what people who have been studying healthcare for 30 years is. How? Your Google search can't equate. And so I think one of the big kind of newer big problems that's facing healthcare, same thing that's facing you guys as students, is there's so much misinformation on the internet. And we look at the internet as like, oh, this is beacon of truth. I can find everything I need on the internet. But not everything you need is on the internet, is delivered in the proper way, is organized in the proper way, and is fully accurate. And so I think one of the big problems in healthcare today is everybody being their own doctor on Google, is everyone being their own medical expert on Google, as opposed to listening to people who are actually truly experts on the stuff. So whatever your answer is to that, it doesn't matter really what it is, as long as it's thought out and you think, okay, what are the issues? What are the obstacles facing healthcare today? Yes, yes? Are you guys having fun? I have to read the questions. What I'm trying to read, because you guys are here, right, asking questions. I want to reward you guys for being here and asking questions. I got to go over here and read these questions. But if you are having a good time with us today, make sure you like this video. We are live action. I'm Dr. Pinesett. This is the Study Doc Show. Utham, when am I going to start in-person lectures again? 2022. So my first speaking event is actually booked for March 2022. I'm very excited about it. But the goal is from March through September, so 6-month stretch running through the summer, is to do essentially 1 to 2 events every single week. And so we've already started booking out for 2022. If you want to have me out at your school, reach out to me and we can try to work with your school to get me to come out there. But we're going to do a massive string of events. I want to do a ton of events next year. So I'll be heading back out in March of next year. Let's see. Spencer says, my major question is, how can I work full-time while still being an MCAT murderer? I've planned to still try to have quality times quantity of hours, but what else can I do? It's made getting into flow harder. So as you guys may or may not know, the ultimate formula for MCAT success is quality of time times the quantity of time spent on that exam. If you want a high score, you must spend lots of quality hours studying. Lots of hours that aren't quality with the wrong strategies and the wrong focus won't get you there. Okay? Having great focus, the right strategies, but not putting enough time won't get you there. And so one of the big issues that students have, and this is why the MCAT, right, puts disadvantaged students under undue burden, is that if you have to work or work even full time and do the MCAT, that work takes hours out of your day, takes energy out of your body, takes focus out of your brain, and takes so all those things take away from your MCAT prep. And so the key, if you have to work full time, and Spencer, I know, is one of my students, right, is in the military, so that's something that we're working through. But for you guys, if you cannot work, do it. If you can work part-time, do it. If you have to work full-time, the key is to space your MCAT prep out. Because if you try to powerhouse the MCAT, say I'm going to work full-time, study for the MCAT, do 3 months, you're going to get burnt out. So what I would recommend is just stretch your MCAT prep out over a longer time, slowly build that foundation, build that foundation until you're ready to go and take that exam. So like you said, it's made getting it harder to get into a flow. It's hard because you're going to be working your 8 hours, working your 9 hours, trying to come home, get stuff done. So what I would say is space it out over a longer period of time. And the second thing I'll say is do your studying before work. Do your studying before work. If you guys work, I'd much rather be tired at work than to be tired when I'm doing my MCAT studying. I'd much rather have a sleepy brain, a brain that has been worn down while I'm at work, than have a brain that's worn down while I'm studying. So does that make sense, Spencer? Those are 2 strategies right there you can try, and hopefully that helps you out with that. Yes. Does that make sense, everybody? Let me know right now. I'm excited to have you guys here. We'll be back with another live interview next Tuesday at 5 p.m. If you guys don't know, we are live every Tuesday, 5 p.m. With the Study Doc Show. I'm also live on my YouTube channel here randomly. And the podcast, guys, season 2 is being launched this week. So you guys will see that on whatever podcast network you guys tune into. You guys can also get over to my website, thestudydoc.com. I've got great coaching programs and courses for you guys over there if you guys want more of this great stuff. Delisa asked this question. How is end-of-life care compassionate? So this is an interesting question. So my mom told me that I'm not her durable power of attorney for healthcare stuff because she says I'm always too quick to talk about how people should pull the plug. And I'm that way because I see it, right? I'm an anesthesiologist. I do critical care all day. I see that all life is not life. And we've advanced far enough now with our medical technologies that you can keep almost anybody alive. But what is life really? And so end of life care can be very compassionate in the sense that why should we be drawing labs every day? Why should we be doing all this invasive therapies and painful procedures to a patient who it's not going to help? wouldn't it be better just to make them extremely comfortable, allow them to interact with their family, get the breathing tube out so they can talk, right, and smile with their family? Wouldn't that be a better experience? And so end of life care can be very compassionate when we have an understanding of what the condition is and what quality of life really means. And so I think that end of life care can be very compassionate in a lot of different ways. But one thing I say is clear communication with patients. So I actually had a student of mine who was working as a volunteer and had a patient die and was like, man, how do you deal with this? Like, it's crazy. I feel like, oh man, I don't know how to deal with it emotionally. And what I will say to you guys, at the end of life, people come to the hospital, people die, right? You don't go to the hospital unless you're not sick, right? And sometimes it's severely ill. And so patients are going to die. If you're in healthcare, you gotta accept that, understand that. And the way I can shake off any death, not like I walk right away. I can walk right away from it because I understand that if I wasn't here, they would have died sooner and they would have died alone. So what we're trying to do in the hospital a lot of times, in situations where people are dying, they're already in the process of dying. They're on the pathway to death. And so what we're trying to do is save them from death. But if you can't save them, they're going to die anyway. So there's no guilt. There's no bad feelings about it. It is what it is. People come to the hospital when they're sick, and you can't save everybody. And it's an immature perspective, and it's a toxic perspective to think, oh, as a doctor, I'm going to save everybody. It's ridiculous. Even on those ridiculous doctor shows, right? There's always one guy who's like, I'm going to save the world, save every patient. And they have to come to a point where they can recognize and wrap their head around the fact you can't save everybody. And what's also interesting in healthcare, especially it's really come out in this COVID for a lot of people that haven't really seen the side of it, is that a lot of, much like what you guys are studying, a lot of our healthcare woes, we put it on ourselves, right? You smoke, you get lung cancer, right? Things like that. And so what's come out during COVID is people don't get vaccinated. And I'll never, like, you have these moments, right? And I had a moment where a wife was literally hanging on my scrubs in the ICU, like, save my husband, save my husband. And I was like, there's nothing I can do for your husband. It is what it is. And it was incredible because she was like, save my husband, give him the vaccine, do this, da, da, da. And I'm like, if your husband was vaccinated, odds are, that's just the statistics, he wouldn't be in here right now. But now that he's in here, you want him vaccinated? And the backstory about it is they had an anti-vaccine party. They had a COVID party to say, oh, we're not going to vaccine, to rub people's faces in it. And then their husband gets COVID and is going to die. And then it's time now to beg and do all kinds of things. And so what's interesting about healthcare is you get to see, we talk about seeing consequences. Healthcare is a consequence market. And not all healthcare problems come from choices, but a lot of our healthcare problems come from choices. So. Did I answer your question sufficiently? I'm scrolling through the comments here to see what our next questions are going to be. I like this one. Michael says, how do you combat the thought of what if it's not worth it? The reality is, guys, is everybody has I guess I'll take this back to our visualization earlier. Everything is hard. Everything is difficult. Nothing is perfect. No relationship, no job, no nothing. So what we have to recognize is that this world, we live in an imperfect world. There's nothing that is perfect. But what makes something worth it is that it has meaning to you. And so I'll give you the example today is I had to go to the electrophysiology lab and we were doing cardiac ablation on this patient. And these cases are terribly stressful because you have the cardiology team, which is sticking wires up the groin all the way up to the heart, and they're tickling the heart and shocking the heart and doing things to the heart to cause arrhythmias and to cause missed contractions of the heart and missed beats and so forth. And so when that happens, right, our heart, the reason it beats and it contracts is to create our blood pressure. And so as the anesthesiologist, I'm on the other side, and every time I do these little different things, the blood pressure is swinging wildly, wildly, wildly. And you're always waiting for that moment where the heart's not going to come back quickly or the blood pressure's not going to respond. And so it's like an up and down day. And so it's moments like that where it's like, it's very stressful, it's very difficult, it's very taxing. You're like, man, why am I doing this? But then you have moments where it was like maybe a month ago, I was in the EP lab and a guy coded, and then we did CPR. I ran the code. We brought the guy right back, and that guy now is fine. He's left the hospital, and so it's a cool thing. So the reason you go through these moments, what makes it worth it is that if I'm not there, then maybe that patient dies. Maybe that patient doesn't get his ROSC and he doesn't come back breathing. So in terms of how do you combat the thought of what if it's not worth it, guys, you never know what's what, and nothing's perfect. But if you can get clear on that vision and understand, okay, why do I want to be the doctor? What makes it worth it for me? For me, being a doctor allows me to be in a position to impact people's lives positively every single day. It allows me to be challenged every single day mentally. It allows me to be that beacon of hope to people who want to have success, who want to maybe become a doctor or whatever it might be, and to say, you know what, Dr. Pinesett, he was told he was dumb. He was told he could never do it, but he put his mind to it, and gosh darn it, he made it happen. And so if he can do it, I can do it. And so that's what being a doctor means to me, and so that's powerful. And so when I was in college, I was clear on that, on what it meant to me, and that was how I could tell it was worth it to me. So it's the traits of the place, of the thing you're striving for. Does that make sense, Michael? Meryl, what is up? Good evening. Yeah, so Leah asked, did you work part-time while in college? So my work history is kind of complicated because, again, I talked about, recurring themes on this channel. So when I talk, it should sound repetitive because, success is not a million things. Success is a few things operated to scale. And so when it comes to me, I want simplicity, I want routine, I want efficiency, and I want independence. And so I took the same approach I took in my classes, the same approach I took in my activities, the same approach I took in my jobs is, listen, it's not about having a job. People think, oh, I had a job. I need money. I have a job. No, what you need is money. So why not get to the outcome and get money as efficiently as you can? And so for me, I could have worked for someone, but instead I worked for myself. I created my own tutoring company. And so therefore I was able to make more per hour. I was able to enjoy what I wanted to do. I was able to set my own schedule. And so it worked out fine. I was able to, whenever I took a position, whether it was research or anything else, I always looked for opportunities that were paid positions because then it supplemented my income. So I didn't work for free. I didn't do research for free. You got to pay me because I need money. I need money. So that's the way I looked at work. For you guys who are in part-time jobs, you can be in a part-time job, look for a better paying part-time job. The bomb diggity job when I was in college was Starbucks. Because Starbucks used to pay $18 an hour, give you benefits, tuition reimbursement, all kind of stuff. Bank of America had dope jobs back in the day. In-N-Out had great jobs back in the day. So for you guys who are working part-time, making maybe minimum wage, there are other part-time positions that you can get maybe that pay a little bit more that would allow you to work less hours or be a little less stressed financially that would help you in the long run. So look at the job you're going for and see, okay, how can I most efficiently, most effectively, most enjoyably get the money I need? I hope that makes sense to you. And I think this is an interesting comment. So I didn't see what was happening in the comments above this, but I like this comment. Because this person says, Kasim, not everyone wants to be a doctor enough to put up with all the stress and sacrifice. They might want to be an engineer instead and easier for more money. 100%. Everyone thinks I'm going to be a doctor and make lots of money. Doctors don't make, if you want to make money, doctor ain't the way to do it. There's easier ways and easier ways to make more money. Doctoring ain't it. And so I think it's very important. I like the stress of being a doctor. Not everyone does. And so it's very important as you guys go for whatever your goal is, you got to love it. I'd love to be an engineer. Again, problem solving. It's challenging. It's cool, right? You know what I would hate to do is be a lawyer. I would hate to be a lawyer. Hate it. All that writing, all that, oh gosh, it sounds terrible. All the arguing. I don't want to argue with people all day. It sounds terrible. But I like what I do. Does that make sense? So Everyone tries to act like whatever they do is noble. You choose the career that's right for you. Same thing with nursing and doctoring. I would never want to be a nurse. I would be a CRNA, but I would never want to be a nurse because I don't like the role they play in the healthcare team, like on the floors and stuff. I feel like nurses are like teachers. I'm not saying they're underpaid, but they're underappreciated. Nurses work really hard, and I just don't want to work that hard. I like the stress, the mental, cognitive aspect of it, but I feel like nurses work harder than I work, so I wouldn't want to be a nurse, but I love healthcare. And for some of you guys, you love the aspects of being a nurse, and you don't want the extra stress that being a doctor carries. So that's a better fit for you. Nothing wrong with that. Find what works for you. All right, guys. I'm trying to answer these questions rapid fire. If y'all having fun with me, want to keep me on here, like this video right now. Let me know you're having a good time. This is for you guys. A student asked, they got a certain MCAT score. One section was much lower than the other sections, and they asked how much a red flag will be. Well, schools break everything down in segments. So the first thing schools are looking at is the overall MCAT score. And if your MCAT score is borderline, then they'll start looking at the individual sections, and they can see that a section brought you down. And for each individual section, you want to score in a reasonable range. You don't want to be scoring super low. In this student's case, 122 is the number there, and that is a bit on the low side. So I would think it would be worth it for you to raise that section score up if you can. Sorry, guys. I have to read all these questions right here. I should probably play music while I'm reading questions. Should I sing for y'all? Amrit says, I just don't know where to start with my course. All I have is the textbook and course outline. I feel as that these are enough resources. A book, a syllabus, a flashcard deck, all that stuff, those are just tools. And any tool is only as good as the tool user. And so, Amrit, whether that's enough or that's insufficient, it depends on how good you are at utilizing those devices, organizing yourself, attacking that stuff. You have to develop that skill. And so I think it's so important. Everybody thinks that like, oh, if I have an Anki deck, it's going to save me. If I have this, it's going to save me. Nothing can save you unless you can save your gosh darn self. Because the same Anki deck in a different person's hands can be totally different. The same book in a different person's hands can be totally different. The same teacher in a different person's hands can be a totally different picture. So it's important, if you don't feel comfortable with the resources you have, that you either level up your skills or get different resources that fit your skill set. And if you do feel comfortable, then that's fine. Then succeed. I guess I can answer this question. Advice for high school students thinking about pre-med. What's the best thing to major in? I have, I think, 3 videos on majors, minors, picking a major, and so forth, changing majors. So check the rest of the YouTube channel, guys. I have tons of videos on that stuff. But your major really doesn't matter. What's important is that you succeed. And so the way that you can succeed, right, is getting the skills you need to be successful. And one of the biggest problems that students have is learning how to study, right? It's why I stress it so much, because you could be a great person, you could have the right network, you could have all the activities, but if your GPA sucks, nobody wants you. So as a high school student, what I would say to you is start looking ahead, start preparing your study skills for college, because compared to college, high school is cake. And so because of that, a lot of students don't develop advanced study skills. And so when they get to college, they struggle mightily, and then it's a problem. So I would encourage all of you guys to develop those study skills to be more effective. So if you're in high school, learn how to study, learn how to study, learn how to study, learn how to read. Yeah, when I go back on the road, I'm going to post all the events on my website so you guys check it out. You guys come see me. Come see me. Oh, I like this question. Thank you. Something offbeat. I like this. Dejan with his fancy profile picture says, education is something I'm really interested in. If you could restructure how a school runs, how would it look? If I could restructure how education runs, it would be different for every level of education. And I think that's the first problem that our education system has is they trying to make education too similar across the board. At different levels of development, we can tolerate different learning environments and our expectations should be different. And so the first thing I would say is that early on, we have to take the emphasis off of learning stuff just to learn that stuff. I think we have to spend a lot more time on building students' mindsets and spend a lot more time on building students' adaptability, building students' learning strategy. So I would start with that early on. In terms of getting older, high school should be viewed as college prep. Right? We talk about college prep. High school should be viewed as college prep. High school is no longer an end destination for a lot of people. Our world is too complex. Our computers are too good, right? We don't have any factory jobs anymore. Stuff is gone. So it's very important that people look at high school as this stepping stone for college. And one of the ways that we fail high school students is we don't adequately prepare them for the college experience. So I would take the training wheels off in high school in this safe, comfortable environment when parents are there to allow these students to be able to flourish more. In terms of how schools run, in terms of at the college level, I think these schools are big and bloated for no reason, and they need to get back to basics and focus more on what students need and what's helpful for students. You shouldn't have professors who are not good teachers teaching because not every student is capable of being independent, as I talk about. So I think schools, colleges need to focus on the students and not charging you guys a bunch of money and focusing instead on allowing you guys to learn effectively, and develop the baseline fundamental knowledge you need to go to your next step in your career. Did I answer your question, John? I'm going to answer your question simply. The 5 pillars of studying less and getting better grades. Guys, I have a study course. It comes with coaching. It's insane. Hours and hours and hours and hours of me breaking down every single thing you need to do to be successful as a student. Not tips, not tricks, real, comprehensive, step by step systems that you can follow to dominate any class at any level. You'll understand how to manage your time. You'll understand how to take great notes. You'll understand how to approach lecture. You'll understand how to like everything. It's all covered in this course, and it's all designed to, again, like the title says, make you study less and get better grades. So it's about that life, not about doing more. It's about doing less and getting better grades. Hold on one second, guys. All right. Ramirez says, I've worked at a few labs, yet I've yet to have a publication from them. Would it be a negative if I put these lab experiences in my CV resume application? No, you don't need a publication from a research experience to make it meaningful. But what does make it meaningful is your write up. What did you do while you were there? Do you have a letter of recommendation? Have you made an impact? Have you learned? Have you grown? Because the honest truth about undergrad research is that you guys are not qualified to really do anything high level. And so, really, what you're there to do is to bring morale, be like a spirit animal for the lab, and be someone people want to have around. So, I think if you have lots of research, right, if you worked in a few labs over a few years and you don't have any sort of publication, that would be something that's concerning, but you still want to put those on there because it's going to fill out your resume. But better would be if you're in these opportunities is to focus on, for you guys who are in research, think about doing research, you should go into research saying, how can I get my letter of recommendation and how can I get impact, right? Publications, presentations, all that stuff matters. So I'll put Justice's question up here. I have 3 Fs in my semester right now. I'm in the 5 pillars, but still getting terrible grades. I need help. So Justice, you're no longer in 5 pillars. But the issue is you just joined 5 pillars like a month ago. And right, you joined a month ago and you were already in the semester getting bad grades. So you need help. You got to go to the course and take the course and learn. I think it's really important, guys. You can have access to resource, you could have knowledge, but if you don't turn it into ability by putting the time in, you're not going to get there. And you'll repeatedly hear me say, because this channel, right, me as a person, my website, it's not about quick fixes. And students who are focused on quick fixes, students who are focused on superficial tips and tricks will not be successful, will not be able to crush it on the level they want to crush it on, because there's other students who are willing to deep dive, who are willing to spend the time to better themselves, improve themselves, uplift themselves, to be consistent, to get great. Because straight A's are not made in a single day, they're made every single day. So there are students who are willing to do that and go through that process. And if you are not one of those students, you will not succeed. Yes? So for you guys who are like, man, why are my grades the way they are? I've made students who you wouldn't believe, who have severe disabilities, who have disadvantage, who have all these things. I turn students into A students all the time. But the common denominator amongst these students is their willingness to listen, to learn, to be honest with themselves, and to get to gosh darn work. But if you're not willing to put in the time, you're not going to get better. That's the reality. So someone's about to turn into a pumpkin. It's late for them, I guess. Brian says, hey, Dr. P, I'm a new grad nurse on my pre-med journey, and I often feel I see myself as less capable and intelligent as others see me. I feel as if my self-doubt is limiting my capabilities. So actually, excuse me, Brian, I actually just talked about this on my Instagram. I'm at the study doc, guys, across social media, but that self-doubt is real. And the caption I wrote was, your self-doubt is showing. We fail to recognize that our self-doubt, it molds us, it shapes us, it stains us to our own selves, but it also stains us to other people. It's like a scarlet letter. That self-doubt, that shame you have about yourself, you wear it on your sleeve, y'all. And other people see it and they don't believe in you. And if you want to turn that around, guys, if you want to turn how people perceive you around, you got to perceive yourself differently first. And Brian, that imposter syndrome, right? We did an episode, right, with Dr. Crowell 4 weeks ago, talking about imposter syndrome. With Dr. Prakash, like 2 weeks ago, talking about imposter syndrome. The truth is, and I continually repeat this, a lot of times people dismiss imposter syndrome as an incorrect thoughts. But sometimes your self-doubt is that inner voice, that Jiminy Cricket telling you on your shoulder, you are screwing up. You are not doing what you need to do. And Brian, part of the problem may be, right, that you aren't prepared to academically thrive amongst the pre-meds. You aren't prepared with the knowledge of understanding of what you have to do to stand out as a pre-med outside the classroom. And so you have to get better informed, improve your skills, that side of it. The other side of it may be, Brian, that you're coming from a nursing background and you think nursing is like poo-poo, right? Like, oh, I'm just a nurse, all these pre-meds. But the reality is, if you've gone through nursing program, You have more, right, academic experience than a lot of these pre-meds. You have more medical experience than a lot of these pre-meds. So stop thinking of yourself as just a nurse trying to compete. Recognize, like, I'm a nurse, I can compete. And I work with a lot of nurses who have switched, who are in the process of switching into medical school, who have gone from nursing into medical school, and they actually, because they're like non-traditional students, my students who go from nursing into pre-med actually do very well. And the reason is because they have maturity, they have experience on their side, and so they're ready to be serious about it, they're ready to be disciplined, and they've already developed at least some quorum of study skills that allows them to elevate. So what I would say, Brian, is don't worry about being less than, make yourself more, is what I would say. Right? That's what I would say, is worry about being more. And don't think that you're less than just because of your title as a previous nursing student. You got this. Go get it. Hope that answers your question, Brian. All right, we'll do one more because we're at 56 minutes right now. Like this video if you guys are on here right now. Don't make me feel like I'm alone in this room, in this world. I like how this student signed on as the Great Cornholio and says, I need TP for my bunghole. Beavis and Butthead has been off the air for 40 years, maybe? Holy smokes, what an old reference. The young cats on this stream won't know what that is. But thanks for your relevant sarcasm. Let's see. Cactus Jack. What did you enjoy studying more, anatomy or physiology? I'm a physiology major taking gross right now, and I think I like anatomy way more. Anatomy, I guess that's a strong overstatement. Anatomy is the calculus of the medical world. Anatomy as a whole, and the way it's taught in undergrad, has very little utility. That's the truth of it. What you really care about is functional anatomy, which you won't learn until not even in medical school. Like late in medical school, you learn some functional anatomy, but a lot of it's just anatomy. And so physiology is actually much more functional. And I tell all my students who are going to medical school, Costanza Physiology, Costanza Physiology, Costanza Physiology is the book. You must become a physiology expert if you want to be a great medical doctor, period. If you don't know physiology, it makes going to medical school harder, makes your training harder, it makes you a less competent, a less great doctor. So physiology, I love me some physiology, hence I'm an anesthesiologist, right? So we are the real physiatrists of medicine, because all day I deal with physiology, right? I was talking about earlier, blood pressure and heart rates and all that stuff. I love physiology. So I highly recommend that you guys focus in on physiology. Anatomy is highly overrated. It becomes this infamous thing for pre-meds for some reason, but anatomy is fairly useless, because what good is it if you can memorize all these muscles and all these bones that has no real life-saving potential? To ortho people, even they don't know all the different things. They know their functional groups of what they need to know, but just knowing anatomy, know anatomy is very low yield. All right, guys. We are at 59 minutes. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me on this special Ask Me Anything episode. Did you guys like this? Should we do more episodes like this? Comment in the box right now. Let me know if you guys like this and you want more Ask Dr. Pinesett Anything sessions, and we'll mix some of these in. But as always, I'm here to help you guys get better. I'm here as a student and as a pre-med coach. I help you reach peak performance. I am not a social media influencer. If you guys want entertainment value, that's elsewhere. Here is a place you come to get educated and get better. So I hope that you guys will continue to join us every single Tuesday. We're live action 5 p.m. on this very YouTube channel. If you're listening to this on the podcast, hello. Season 2 of the Study Doc Show podcast just launched on all the major podcast networks around. So make sure you guys check that out. And like I said, I'm at the Study Doc across social media. My website is thestudydoc.com. Get over there, check that out. And as always, y'all, right? You got to be great. Got to be great. Go get it, y'all. And everyone is capable of being great, but we got to put that work in. No excuses. Just dominate, y'all. See you guys next time. That's it for another episode of the Study Doc Show. Show your love by smashing the like button and commenting in the box below. Today is the day, guys. No more excuses, no more complaining. You're going to take your future into your own hands. You're going to dominate. You're going to be successful. I challenge you. What are you going to do today to make your life better? Get to my website, thestudydoc.com. Grab a free ebook, sign up for a free webinar, and if you're really ready to transform, enroll in one of my life-changing courses or coaching programs. You have greatness inside you. Let me show you how to unlock it so you can dominate and make your dreams a reality. No excuses, just dominate.